Good evening, everybody. This is Dynasty Mir, Search for Huru. And this evening, we have Sheila with the platform. And please, Sheila, I'm learning my French. And it's sad that I travel to all these French speaking African countries, and my French is terrible.
No problem.
Lou Dame Africain?
No, it's actually Les Dames Africaine.
La Dame's Africain.
Yes.
It's damn shame. Damn shame. Well, welcome to the show. And today we're gonna speak on what Haiti thing, y'all? Well, my bad. Somebody in the chat room had to ask a question. But today we're gonna be speaking on the importance of African women telling their own stories. And I was going through my Instagram page and I saw your page and Les Dames Africaines. Oh, I butchered it. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You can say the African
The
ladies.
African ladies. There we go. The African ladies. African ladies. My Wolof is terrible too, Sultana Sokoto. I'm struggling with my language game. And see, Africans, it's so beautiful. You guys speak like 3 or 4 different languages. Me, I speak a little bit of Spanish, little bit, and just English. But they say everybody in the chat room saying bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. So the African ladies is the platform, and we're just gonna chop it up on the importance of African women telling their own stories. My French is terrible as well, so we're gonna tell the importance. We're gonna speak on the importance of African women telling their stories. I'm very big, especially on this platform, giving African women, a voice on here. So Sheila, thank you so much
No
for
problem.
joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So tell us about your platform and the inspiration behind it, and what made you start it.
Okay. So I started my platform because as a young African immigrant in the United States, I felt like I didn't really have a lot of people to look up to. I mean, as a black woman, there were people that I identified with, but it's just there were certain struggles that I had to go through that I didn't really see anyone, any celebrities talking about it or like expressing the same struggles.
Mhm.
So that was the main motivation behind it. So my goal is not only to inspire people by bringing them like news and stories about what African women are doing across the diaspora and the African continent, but also hopefully sometimes in the future to start a mentoring program for African women to like mentor other young African women. There's just certain things in society that I feel like I I feel like our struggle is a little different than like for example African American women, and it's because of the mixture of culture and like gender, race, and also like coming from a place that's underdeveloped. Um, yeah, so that's the main reasons why I started Les Dames Africaine.
Now tell people where you're from, because I mean, again, this platform, Search for Huru, we want to connect the diaspora with the continent. That's the objective of this platform. So tell people, your background, where you're from, and what brought you to. You're currently in New York, correct?
Yes, I am.
And what brought you to New York?
Okay, so I'm from Togo. My family lived in Lomé for
I've
most
been
of my
there.
life.
I was just there.
Yeah, so we lived in Lomé. However, we moved to America when I was 10 years old. My family wanted a better life, but most importantly, my dad, who was once a politician, had there was some tension back in the days, and he had to go into exile. And basically, nothing good was happening in Togo. Like there was not a lot of opportunities for someone as educated and as skilled as him. So he decided to move to America to see if he could make his dreams happen and provide a better family. I mean, a better life for his family here.
Mm. And so you guys came directly to New York.
Yes, we did.
Okay. How has your experience been as a Togolese woman, African woman
Hmm.
in New York?
Okay. Well, my Hmm. I don't know. I like to think that there's not that many of us in New York. I went to Minnesota and I saw plenty of Togolese in Minnesota. However,
Really, in
I don't know.
Minnesota?
Yeah, I don't know. Surprisingly for
I thought
me.
Somalians had Minnesota on lock.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, there's a lot of Somalians in Minnesota. However, I'm not sure. Maybe it's just me or in the environment that I'm in. However, growing up, I only had two other Togolese friends. I had met one in middle school, and I met the other one in high school. And to this day, they're the only two girls that I communicate with. So we're not like, I mean, compared to like other countries like Nigeria, there's not a lot of Togolese here in the United States. So
Yeah, Nigerians are
um,
everywhere. So
yeah, definitely. And I think I didn't see a lot of people that I completely identified with. People that spoke French, like people from Ivory Coast. I made friends with them because we have more things in common. Um,
I'll be in Ivory Coast in September.
oh, okay.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. But yeah, that's basically what. Actually, I would say that in New York, most of the Togolese people that I do know are like my family members,
Okay.
and most of them are also older. Hence why I didn't speak to them, like as friends
Okay.
and things like that. But I think we're also my family is also Muslim, and they're very conservative. So being a Togolese woman in Togo was like you had to deal with a lot, things such as like the intersection of culture, religion, race, and yeah,
Hmm.
I don't
So
know.
let me ask you, are you Muslim as well, or just your family?
Oh, I'm Muslim. I'm a practicing Muslim.
You're
Yeah.
practicing Muslim. Okay. Now my issue
Mhm.
that I have with a lot of Africans,
Mhm.
and we go back and forth on this.
Mhm.
I feel that Africans as a whole are abandoning their indigenous religions
Mhm.
for Islam and Christianity.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think honestly, I feel like I probably don't have the best answer
Hmm.
to that, but I can tell you that I that's an issue that I've also been, like battling within myself
Hmm.
with because I feel like I recently read a bunch of readings, in school, and I was just thinking about how much we tend to like fight other people's battles.
Right.
However, at the same time, for example, I spoke to this woman who is Fulani,
Hmm.
and she brought it to my attention that because of her identity, she actually feels like it isn't necessarily someone else's religion because like the Fulanis, at least her in particular, she's mixed. She's mixed with Arab and things like that. So I think it gets a little bit more complicated. I don't really have the answer to that, but I can tell you that one thing that my family has always done is they definitely separate religion and tradition. So there are certain things. For example, one when I was very little, I went to the mosque and
Hmm.
we had our African clothes on, and there was this woman basically telling us that we weren't dressed properly. And my mom, um, she basically laughed at her and she was like, it's important to like separate tradition from religion. You can't just follow other people just because they say this is how the religion. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. So basically, her statement was like this. The hijab, which is like, a traditional Arab dressing, is like one way you can dress, but it isn't the only way that you can dress as a Muslim. And it's just little things like that, like separating and not completely abandoning your culture just because of your religion. That's one way in which like I kind of found a middle ground, but I can honestly say that I'm still battling with it, so I'm not the perfect person to answer that question.
Now, are you battling with it? And I promise you, we're going to get back on topic, but
No problem.
I just have to ask. Are you battling it internally, or is it more external forces like family?
No, I think it's internally because I feel very comfortable practicing the Islam religion, and it's more. like it's more internally because I also feel, like I'll question whether me being a Islam and still practicing like the indigenous religion is actually me abandoning um my roots, and just little questions like that. But I do feel very comfortable practicing the Islam religion,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, it's more internally.
Let me ask you. So, you've been in America now 10 years, correct? 11, 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years.
10 years. What differences do you see between how American women carry themselves versus African women?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big reason why I started my blog. So I
Okay.
think um I don't know, African women are not like one monolithic group. So I can't speak for everybody, but I know among some African women, some of them, because they have culture and all of these things, and patriarchy basically telling them that they can't do certain things, I feel like they are less liberated. And that was also one of them. And I feel like I'm still working through it, but there
Mhm.
are just certain things that you want to do, but you start to think about it, you're just like, no, like I'm an African woman. That's not really what my family and like my people do, or something like that. Like um these ideas that basically prevent us from like being ourselves. I see that like because African American women are based in America, after all, like the culture is very different, and I think I see them as like, not all, of course, but they tend to be like more liberated, in my opinion.
Okay.
As in, yeah, they don't have like the culture weighing them down as much as African women do.
Okay. Now, when you say the culture weighing them down, can you be specific? Like, what are you trying to do that might conflict with the culture?
Okay, yeah. So, let me think of an example. So, hmm. Okay, so I had a friend
Mhm.
who lived in Africa with her parents, and she just recently came to America, a very brave girl. And
Mhm.
basically, the culture, well, at least, yeah, the culture and also her family's beliefs is that a woman shouldn't live alone in an area. And so, because there's this idea that like a woman who lives alone attracts men who don't necessarily want, like don't necessarily have good intentions towards them. And so when she got accepted to come to college, her family was in Togo. They didn't want to move. However, she was ready to make the big leap. And so she basically saved up her money, decided to go, got her own apartment. And that was something that was very brave. And it took her a long time to come to that decision. She took a year gap before taking the big leap. And it's just examples like that. And I've heard women who want to do things like go into the STEM field, they want to study abroad, they
Mhm.
want to, I don't know, like go away for school, they want to be lawyers and things like that. But the family tends to like restrict them. The idea that a woman cannot, after like, after you get your bachelor's, some women get pressured into getting married. And I just heard many of those stories. And so I'm just trying to push my fellow young women to try to think outside the box. Like, just because you can follow your dream, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go against your tradition and your religion
Mhm.
and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Blaine, I appreciate Blaine. Did I send you? Okay, guys. Sorry to interrupt. So everybody who super chats or subscribes to Patreon, you will get a postcard. Blaine, I'm doing a terrible job at keeping up with who got postcards. Blaine, did you already get a postcard? If not, make sure you email me your your address so I can send you one. Okay, and then I'll send you one to you as well, Sheila. When we get
Okay.
offline, just send me your address. For you coming on, I will have a postcard for you. Just a little
Okay, thank
value
you.
added for people who come on and support the platform. So I can encourage them to help us grow our platforms because it's important. Um,
Mm-hmm.
to grow the platform. Now, your interactions with how have your interactions been with black or with African American women as a
Mm-hmm.
from coming from a perspective of an African woman?
Yeah. So I will say like a lot of my friends are African Americans. At first, it's not like I necessarily had a bad idea. I was just when I first moved to America, I was just drawn to Africans. It was just like a comfort zone. But as I grew older, went to high school and college, I got to know many women, and I think our relationship, like I think I understand that we have different experiences
Mm-hmm.
and different cultures. So there are certain things that, they talk among themselves that I cannot understand. And even if I try, um,
Give me an example, if you
okay,
can.
let me see. Okay, for example, in a car, um, they can be playing like 90s music, American music, or trap music. And I'll just sit there and
Oh,
it's
you
just,
don't. Well, hold on, stop the show.
mhm.
So you don't like trap music?
No, I
You
don't
know,
listen to
trap
trap
music
music.
is taking over Africa now.
I know, but I just don't. I'm more of an Afrobeat kind of girl. So it's just those little differences or just cultural references that they make that I cannot understand. Certain foods and things like that I just truly don't understand.
Mhm.
And I also like it when like I'm able to ask them questions, and so to get to know more about their culture and how they were brought up, and
Mhm.
also how it feels being an African woman. There are certain issues. So actually, I have a very concrete example. When Beyonce released her album, what was the name of it?
The latest one where she did the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So yeah. Damn. Somebody in the chat room, help us out here. What's the name of the song?
Like I know all the songs, I just don't know the name of the album.
I forgot the name of it. Hold on. Let me. I'll look it up real quick. Go ahead. Finish your story.
Okay.
Go finish your story.
Yeah, so when that video, for example, got released, they started speaking about certain struggles that like African American women go through, and most of the time I was just listening because I honestly couldn't relate. They were speaking about, for example, I had a friend talk
Lemonade.
about
Lemonade. Lemonade.
lemonade.
Sorry.
Yes. Oh, how can I forget? And I had a friend talk about how, for example, when she was younger, she remembers um her father, like, okay, basically her mom, like, running up with her friends to go, to go catch her father cheating and things like that. And but I mean, there were also other positive stories that they had, but I
Mhm.
just couldn't relate. So yeah, most of the time is, like, I'm able to grow and like learn from them, and I think I really enjoy when they come and ask me questions. Like, I had some of them ask me, can I wear waist beads and things like that, and I had to explain to them that, there is a significance to things. I personally don't have an issue with them wearing it, but I mean, yeah, I think it's most likely, I would describe it as like a very good experience.
I think waist beads are sexy as fuck. By the way, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it's been very great. And especially now in America, with all these things happening, I think it's good that us Black people were able to come together.
Mhm.
And that's a trend that I've been noticing within the African community. I feel like at first, many of us, when we first came, we will get, for example, the PSAT or something, and they will ask us about our race. I know many of my friends, including me, I will put other and then African because in my head I was
Whoa.
like, I'm
Okay,
not African American.
stop the show. We gotta. Okay, so on the forum you're talking about, did they ask
Yeah,
if you're black?
yeah. They will say Black or African American, and it's not necessarily because I had an issue with being African American, but I just didn't see myself as American. And so in my head, I was like, no, I'm African. Like, that was also before I was a naturalized citizen. So, but I mean, now I don't do that anymore. And
Do you identify as a black woman now?
yeah, I definitely do. Like, yeah,
Okay.
100%. I think that, yeah, that was a journey. I think at first that was definitely coming from a place of ignorance. But now, yeah, I totally see myself as a Black woman.
Hmm. Why? Okay, so Now we talk about. I know a lot of times Africans are, excuse what I'm about to say, ignorant when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to race.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Africa went through colonialism,
Mm-hmm.
why is that?
Hmm. Well, personally, I feel like it's a very different thing when you live in a space where, the majority of the people are black.
Hmm.
And so, for example, when we were in Africa, my mom definitely encountered racism in the corporate world, where she
Hmm.
had like white people that were definitely underqualified being promoted over her, and even them calling people out in meetings and saying, there's no reason why I should be, her boss, because she knows, like, she's basically teaching me my job. But at the same time, because like it's not like we don't necessarily know what racism is, we have an idea of it, but we just don't encounter it every day. And so it's not, I don't know how to explain it. It's just not something that you can. So, okay.
Go ahead.
When I
Take your
first
time.
moved to America, yeah, when I first moved to America from Africa,
Hmm.
because even though I knew what racism was, I didn't have like that signal. Like, I don't, it's not even a signal. It's just whenever I encounter racism, I didn't know to label it as racism right away because it was just something that was totally different because I didn't encounter it on an everyday basis. And I also, I was not aware of like the systematic racism and how it takes form in America. So I think it's something that Africans definitely should start. We should definitely strive to like educate Africans on what racism is, because I feel like a lot of things happen on the continent and people are able to get away with so much because Africans are really not aware of racism. But yeah, I mean, I can't, yeah, I feel like that's not a complete answer.
No, no. I mean, it's we definitely no. We understand. I mean, we get it.
Hmm.
I just think Africans sometimes choose to be ignorant about race. My
I
honest
don't
opinion.
know. I mean, I don't think,
Or play dumb about race.
no, I don't think, I don't know. Personally, I don't think that Africans choose to play dumb. There are some people that are very ignorant and they were fed stereotypes. So in their mind, it's like it's very hard to get them out of that state of mind. There's also some people that are just not willing to change, and so I'm not speaking for those people. But I think over time, most Africans become like more aware, especially now. I'm working on a separate project where I'm speaking to a lot of Nigerians about their experience in the US. And what they're telling me is over time, they come to identify with like being Black because they're realizing how, like, they're realizing and like they've learned more about what racism does to people and what it looks like.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you plan on relocating back to Togo at all, or are you here pretty
Hmm.
much forever?
No, not forever, for sure. I had thoughts about relocating after going to school,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe not Togo, because of like separate reasons. But definitely Africa is a place where I would like to live in the future, and not just for retirement. Excuse me.
All right, Chima says in the chat room, we as Africans have to understand in the USA, if you look black, regardless of national origin, you are still a. I don't like to use the N word on my
Hmm.
platform, but I'm pretty sure you know what the N word is.
Yeah.
So yeah, so and,
Hmm.
and he's telling the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
Because I
Like,
mean, it's just because racism doesn't understand that doesn't know the difference between Ghanaian, Nigerian, and Black
hmm,
America. So
yeah, definitely, and that's not something that I feel like someone who just moved to America. Most people that just moved to America understand because, like, they're so used to like being identified by their national identity and their tribal, identity. That's not something that racial consciousness is not there yet.
mhm. What now? What's the importance of African women
Hmm.
um, being able to tell their stories.
Hmm. Yeah, I think in a lot of places, African women are seen as like these mute women,
Hmm.
and these women that have to be saved. So when you see people like Chimamanda Adichie, and
Yeah.
yeah, that is like such a huge change, and it's like so powerful because you're able, like, not only does it show that African women do not have to be saved, but they're able to tell their own story, and an accurate one. Because a lot of times when you have outsiders telling the stories of African women, it tends to like come out, they tend to mistranslate,
Not
basically.
sincere, not sincere. Like I mean, not authentic. Yeah, I understand.
Exactly, yeah. And I don't remember the name, but I remember reading this text, and it was an Egyptian woman who is like hated by a lot of people, but it's really interesting. So she wrote about her life and being going through FGM, female genital mutilation,
Oh
and
God. Uh,
yeah. And when it was translated into English, these people changed the meaning completely. And so most people read the English and the French version, even within the African continent, because the original version um, was was in Arabic. And so like most people, especially African women, do not like her because they feel like she didn't tell a true story. And people call her all sorts of names like traitor and things like that. But in reality, that's what happens when other people, tell your story.
right. So you mentioned the Nigerian author. You pronounce her name again?
Chimamanda Adichie.
Right. Now,
Hmm.
she's a feminist.
Yes.
How do you feel about feminism
Hmm.
and the African woman?
Okay. Yeah. Actually, that's a very interesting discussion because I've heard people say that like African women cannot be feminist, and
And
that
I agree, but keep going.
I totally disagree because I think it all depends on the way you define feminism. Because well, I know in the Western world, a lot of people tend to see feminism as these women who refuse to shave, do not want to date men, and things like that. And that's not necessarily the case. I came to understand feminism through seeing the women at the market who are like hustling
Okay.
to provide for their children. For example, my grandmother was one of those women,
Okay.
and she, at all times, even when she was really ill, always took her stuff to the market. And the reason why she did that was because my grandfather had multiple wives, including some of them who basically tried to poison her. So she had to leave her husband, not because she didn't love him, but because her life and her children's life were in danger. And there are so many stories of African women doing these acts and like providing for themselves, saving their whole family. And I think that's totally feminism. That fits into what feminism is. And African feminist theory is, well, to me, like feminism, but also taking into consideration like African culture. It isn't something that goes like totally contrary to African culture.
Okay. So do you honestly think
Hmm.
that feminism can
Hmm.
merge or blend into African culture?
Yeah, because I don't see feminism as like something that's black and white. I totally see it as, okay, I see it as a spectrum. There's a lot of feminists. Well, okay, feminists, first of all, they don't agree with each other. And there's different types of feminists. My mom, my mom wouldn't put the label feminist on herself.
Right.
And I think that's also like another difference. African women tend not to put the label feminist on themselves. And I think it's because of the stigma that comes with like the word feminism too.
Hmm. So
But yeah.
go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I like someone like my mom is not like, I see her as a feminist. She wouldn't describe herself as a feminist, but she's not someone who, she really values African culture,
Hmm.
and she's someone who has always, like, she doesn't. she provides for herself, and she always told her daughters that it's important to, go to school, provide for yourself, but not necessarily to do it as not to make it seem as, you don't need a man, or you can become the head of the family, because she still believes that, the men are the head of the family. So I think it's totally able. I mean, I'm sorry. I think it's possible to merge the two, and it depends on what degree feminism you're merging to.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So now, my honest opinion, I think feminism is a European concept that
Hmm.
is anti-African culture.
Hmm.
That's my opinion. And
How?
because you can't, I don't think you could separate the ideology or the root of feminism. I
Hmm.
think it conflicts with African culture. Me personally, European feminism, which feminism originates from,
Hmm.
again, my honest opinion, conflicts with African culture. See, my thing is there's feminism and then there's woman empowerment.
Hmm.
Uh, Me personally, that's what I would call it. But at the same time, I'm not a woman, obviously, because if you look in the black community, uh, right, African society, there are matriarchal African societies, but they don't call themselves feminists.
Yeah, and that's a total valid point. Um, and I think I see it in like a very similar way to like how we view womanism versus feminism. Um, and my understanding is womanism was coined by, was it Alice Walker? Correct me if
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, okay.
wrong.
I got to stop. Womanism is that's feminism. But go ahead.
Okay, no, but it's also like the including the intersection, like being black and being a woman, because they understand that that's a total different experience than, what white women are trying to do. And oftentimes, black women were basically marginalized because their needs were forgotten by the movement of feminism. And so I understand what you're saying, but I don't know. I just see it a little differently. I That's a valid point, and maybe we can come up with another term for what African women do.
Yeah, I think
Maybe it's
another
not.
term, 'cause it's just feminism, man. It's just this is my honest opinion. I
Yeah.
see a lot of African women and men, not just and men,
Mhm.
coming to the West, to America, and trying to learn certain, I would say, ideologies or learning certain ideologies that have completely failed the black community and thinking that it's going to work in their communities in Africa. That's just my honest opinion. And I
Mhm.
think feminism is one of them. So that's why another term, as far as being original, um, would make more sense. That's just me personally, because it's just power is in words.
Mhm.
Words carry power. And feminism, I disagree with, but call it something else and come in with your own term and changing the definition, because unfortunately feminism has already been defined, and even if you try to sexify it and put African in front of it, it's still feminism. So me personally, I would come with another term. That's just me personally, but again, I'm not a woman, and
Mhm.
then I get in with arguments and debates with women about it. But yeah, I'm not pro-feminist at all. And when I hear feminist, it's just, it's just, to me it's just a turn off. That's why I would come with a different. Thank you. Chris says in the chat room, whatever they do in Africa, please don't adopt the American model of feminism. It's completely toxic. See, I just think the term is so toxic that I think as a
Mhm.
woman, an African woman, if you want to be empowered, I would completely abandon that term feminism and come with another term. I know it's popular, the term. I know it's, I guess sexy, but I just would, me personally, I would just change the term and just operate under a new banner. That's just me personally.
Mm. But I feel like I totally see your point of view. But I feel like the main reason why or maybe the tendency for African women to say things like, African feminism is because for so many years, African women were seen as like these, these basically slaves to their community, which is not the case. And even like within our culture, that's not how we define it, but that's the label that, at least that's how our culture is seen by others. So when basically it's a way for them to tell the world that they too are empowered. But I see your point. Yeah, maybe we need to like completely scratch off the term feminism and come up with something better, that fits our social settings.
Mhm. Hey, from Gariga, what's up, family? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
your shuka was shipped out from Gariga. You should get it hopefully by end of next week. Your shuka. I know I had there's a someone in the chat room who bought some clothes from me, so I had to let them know it was shipped out. It was shipped out
Mm-hmm.
last week. I mean, 2 days ago. So you should get that hopefully end of this week, end of next week coming up. Now, as far as your platform, what's the overall goal of it? Like, what are you doing to I guess to grow it, or is it more just something you're doing as a hobby?
Well, so far it's a hobby, but the reason why it's a hobby is because I don't have the means yet to like grow it and turn it into the mentoring program. But I would say in the next 3 years, I totally want to start a mentorship program, and maybe not just a mentorship program here in the US, but something that allows people like African women to go to Africa and also like empower young girls to like pursue their dreams and also be proud of their roots and themselves, raise their self-confidence, because that's also another reason why I started all of this, because I feel like African women often oftentimes we don't have the confidence, and that's what we're lacking. We lack the confidence to start you know the to start our initiatives and start working on our dreams.
Hmm. Hmm. So, so how do you build the confidence of an African woman? Like, what would you do
Hmm.
specifically?
Well, I think, that's when representation comes to play. I think representation is a big part of it. For me, it was also learning of my culture and my history. So that's what I'm doing to try to build up the self confidence.
Mhm.
So showing them that there are queens that came before them that were like so empowered and they made things happen. They fought colonialism fiercely. They There are people still working in Africa that are like, totally changing the farming in their country. They are stopping female genital mutilation from happening. They are stopping like sex slavery, and all of
Mhm.
these things are not often shown by the media, but it's not that doesn't mean that you can't achieve it. And also showing them that they're models and that they are beautiful, like that their traits are very unique and perfect the way they are.
Mm. That's powerful. Let's see if we got any questions in the chat room. Everybody, thank you again for joining us. And you're correct. Easy E's made a great point. Women still control the marketplaces in most West African countries.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's what I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
she's from Togo. I was just in Togo not too long ago. Blaine says he needs a black on black embroidered brocade, like the one I had on at the in Ghana. Blaine at the Aquaside Festival.
Aquastidai.
Aquaside. Okay, you got it. Aquaside. Yeah, I went to it in December. So
Well, I'm
I
not
got,
sure. That's how I heard people pronounce it.
I mean
I'm
that's
not
probably how you say
icon.
it because I butcher everything.
No
Uh,
problem.
yeah, but what let me, how are you getting other women involved? I know you said at the mentoring program. Is there any other way that
Hmm.
you? I mean, any other? I would say platforms or ways that you're that you're using to get other women involved?
Yeah. So what I've been working on lately is I've been talking to women who aren't, they're not like, like celebrities or anything, but have achieved a lot and are like very strong women that can possibly mentor people. And I've been getting them to basically write and like answer questions um, that allow me to write their stories, or they themselves writing their stories and sending it to me. And I'm hoping to like post these on my page and maybe starting a group through some social media outlet. I'm not sure if Facebook is appropriate, but like a
Why?
Facebook group or something like that.
Why
Yeah.
wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be appropriate? Facebook.
No, I'm just um no, Facebook is a good. I've thought about Facebook. I've thought about WhatsApp. No, my only issue with WhatsApp is the notification. So I think I'm leaning towards Facebook actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, but maybe a Facebook group in the future, and hopefully things like events in New York City, and maybe within the continent too. Hopefully, but yeah,
Mm.
those are my main goals. I want to start by creating this group on Facebook where women can like talk to each other and, answer questions that younger girls have and things like that. In the future, I see myself having events for women to come and empower themselves.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, in America and within the African continent.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah. So everybody, again, thank you. Oh, are you? I'm gonna butcher that again. Are
Hmm.
you Eway? Eway?
No, I'm not a vegan.
Okay. Eway. Okay. What tribe are you? Are you? That's what somebody was asking.
Yeah, I'm Kotokoli.
Koptokoli. Okay.
Hmm.
You guys get that, Nita? That answer your question. You get that? Okay. Cool. Perfect. Hey, yeah. Hit me up, Hava. Hit me up, offline. Make sure you send your number. But Sheila, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else you want to share in closing with the people as far as how? And make sure you give them your contact information. I will
Hmm.
also real quick post in the chat room. Uh, sign in the chat. I'm already signed in. What? I will post in the chat room your link and everything as
Okay.
well. So yeah, but go ahead and give a shout out and just whatever you want to say in closing.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to me.
Oh no, thank you for coming
I
on.
Oh, no problem. It was my pleasure. I thought this was a very fruitful conversation, and
Mhm.
if anybody has like more questions or suggestions, if they could please contact me, I would greatly appreciate it. My email is lesdamesafricaines, spelled Lesafricaines. And for those wondering, that means the African ladies, but it's in French. My initial intention was to start like a bilingual website. I'm still working on that. Um, but yeah, also follow me on Facebook. I mean, yeah, I have a Facebook, like my page, or follow me on Instagram. That's what I meant to say the first time. My handle is at Les Dames Africaines, spelled again LESDAMESAFRIC, excuse me, CAINES. And yeah, thank you so much. If you have any questions, stories, anything, like feel free to reach out. I love having these conversations.
Mm, perfect. So we'll definitely have you back on as well. Everybody wants to give you applause as
Thank
well.
you.
So we want to give you applause. Everybody, thank you for joining us this evening. Make sure you go to Search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebooks. I am not doing group trips to Africa yet. Maybe in a year. The reason why I'm not doing group trips to Africa yet is because I do not have a eat, shit, and sleep schedule. I'm very sporadic when I go to Africa. So um, the brother Bomani Tyehimba, BOMANITYE, Himba, HIMBA. He does organized group trips to Africa. Just me, like I said, I don't because I'm very sporadic, And then, you know, the way I travel to Africa, a lot of people might not be comfortable traveling that way because I stay in what they call the bush. So, uh, so yeah. So everybody, thank you for coming on. Search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, make sure you go to searchforhuru.com. Also, go to Amazon.com. Search your name, Dinah Samir. Please buy a book. And last but not least, go to DinahSamir.com as well. Again, thank you for coming on. Till next time, peace.
No problem. Thank you.